Good morning, computational thinking. Mr. Tennyson here, and I want to go over with you the first project you're going to be assigned to work on at home, and that is finding and modeling data from an app. Now, that's a pretty boring title for what is usually a pretty interesting project for students. And the goal of this project is for you to find some software that you use, like an app on your phone, an app on the internet like YouTube, or a video game, whatever interests you that has code in it, right? Any kind of software. What you're going to do is you're going to examine and analyze that software and see if you can figure out what are some data types that exist in that software, and you're going to model them in Python in a really simple way. Now, because that's probably hard to understand, I'm going to give you an example using an app that I like, and that will hopefully kind of help you, complete your own assignment. Now, before we get into the actual example, I do want to go in here and show you what the project looks like. Maybe somehow. There we go. So there's the basic instructions, okay? But then for all of my projects, I'm going to give you some detailed requirements. It's really important that you read those requirements and understand what exactly is expected of you in order to get the maximum number of points, okay? So I'll go into my Google Docs here. I'll zoom this in for you. And this is due Sunday, September 13th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Most of the time my assignments are due at midnight, okay? All right, so like I said, our goal in this project is to model data you find present in an app you enjoy using. Okay, so that's any kind of software that's video games, web apps, something on your phone, whatever, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to use, okay? All right, so this program needs to use well-named variables, needs to have a variety of data types, and it needs to use the print function. Now, as of watching this video, you may have not heard of the print function yet. However, we're going to discuss it during our first lesson next week, and it is in your reading. If you're not doing, or you should be doing your readings, so do your readings and do those exercises. It makes everything much easier. I'll link this YouTube video in this assignment as well, and I'll have it posted on Google Classroom. Okay, so here's where the rubber meets the road. When I say specifications, I mean these are the things your assignment must have, okay? And they're pretty straightforward. So we need to have at least 10 elements of data that you are storing in variables in your program. It will not be hard to find 10 elements of data in any kind of application. It will be very easy. You got to have 10 variables holding those elements of data. They should be well named, okay? At least 3 types of data. So again, we're going to discuss next week the different data types, and there are many, but we're going to talk about 3 primary data types next week. We're going to talk about strings, we're going to talk about integers, which you've already seen, and we're going to talk about floats or decimal numbers. So those are 3 important data types in the Python programming language that we're going to be talking about. And then you're going to need to have at least 3 uses of the print function that outputs some kind of information about the data in the program. And this is pretty vague, so I'm going to give you an example of what that will look like. Obviously, guys, we don't know what these programs are made up of, okay? So it's okay to use your imagination, and I'll talk about that a little bit. You don't need to know the actual variable names, right? Variable names for the YouTube application are probably pretty long and complicated, but they are written in Python because it's a Python application, which is kind of cool. And also, I strongly encourage you to choose something that interests you, okay? If you don't choose something that interests you, this is going to be very boring. So don't make life hard on yourself. Just choose something that's fun, that you like. It can be any app, okay? Anything on your phone, computer, on the web that you use. Spotify, that's another example I use and you all probably use too. Twitch, Netflix, whatever. Right? It's all code. Cool. So that's the project, and next I'm going to show you how I would go about doing this myself so you have some idea of what to do. All right, guys, welcome back to the example for your finding and modeling app data assignment. And I'm going to show you how I would find and model app data for a game that I like to play, which is called Dota 2. Don't play this game. You'd have to be insane to play this game. But I do enjoy it. So, like I said, you probably don't play this game, so you won't have to be concerned about accidentally copying my work. But I do want to show you how we can take a look at something that, you know, we just think about as like a game we play, or maybe it's a place where we go and watch videos. But what I want to start to do is to peel back what we see with our eyes and try to understand the code that is behind it, which I think is a pretty wild thing to do. And most students start to get some, you know, weird like brainwashing effects where they're seeing the whole world in code and that kind of stuff, which is always pretty exciting. So, at least for me, maybe not for them. All right, so again, this is the game of Dota 2. I'm just playing it here for a minute to be entertaining and kind of introduce you to this idea, but we're going to pause it here in a second, and I'm going to show you the data that I want to model. So the point of Dota 2 is to basically like hit these little red guys and then hit big buildings and then win the game, and also not die while you're doing that, which I'm really failing at right now. So anyway, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause the game here. All right. So we paused the game, and now we can take a look at the data. So there's a lot of data on this screen right now. I will give you just a second without me talking for you to consider what some of this data might be, okay? And maybe you can predict some of the things I'm about to write down. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and bring my little handy-dandy notebook over here so you can work with me. All right, I think a good place for this is about right here. And we should probably increase the text size so you guys can read what I'm writing. Okay. Okay. Oh, that looks great. All right, so these are my Dota 2 data notes. Dota 2 data notes. Data 2. All right. Okay, so maybe you've had a chance to think about some things that are data on this screen. And let me see if they're... Oh, shoot. So my Windows bar is going to stay up. That's not really a big deal because it's not blocking very much stuff. Okay. So let's take a look around. What do we have here? Well, we've got a lot of letters and numbers on the screen, which is a pretty strong indicator of data. So maybe we should just work from like top to bottom. Let's start with something simple. We'll start with the Radiant Team score. All right, so the Radiant Team score, and notice that I can write this however I want to, okay? These are just my notes. I'm not actually writing code right now. I want to be really clear about that. And that's going to be something that happens again and again through this class, is I'm going to tell you, don't write the code first, get your ideas on paper, or get your ideas into the code, and then start to actually write the code. That's a very common theme for software developers, okay? So Radiant Team score, that's this guy right up here. It is currently set to 0, but if we were to get a, we were to get a kill on the opponent, we would get, some points there, a point. The Dire team score, that's the two sides in Dota, Radiant and Dire. The time, now this is kind of interesting. We don't really have a way of representing time yet. And in fact, we won't really talk about this, we won't talk about time until the end of the year in class, or near the end of the year. If you want to look up how we represent time in Python, you are more than welcome to, okay? All right, so let's see what else we have. If I look down here at my hero, Juggernaut, who's one of my favorites, I've got a lot of data about him, and if I bring up this little tooltip, I've got even more, okay? So let's model this data a little bit. Let's see. First we'll say hero name, okay? And what data type do you think I'm going to use for hero name? If you said string, you are correct. So Juggernaut, all right? And then let's see some data. Juggernaut's attack speed, right? Let's say hero at speed. That's a nice variable. And his attack speed is what? 176, okay? Let's find some other data. What's his, okay, his health, right? That's pretty common. We all know what health is in a game, right? So his max health, hero max health is 620. Hero current health, right? These are two separate ideas in the code for sure. It's going to be 301. All right, so now we could maybe do a little math here to make it interesting. We could say hero health percentage is hero current health divided by hero max health. And I'll expand this a little bit. Max healthy. Eat your fruits and vegetables for max healthy. So there you go. That would be his health percentage, is his current health divided by his max health. Okay. All right, let's see what else we can find here. We need to find maybe another string or something. So, oops. Okay. Let's find one more string here. Or, yeah. Let's see. Item 1. So I'll say item 1 is the quelling blade. That's the name of this item right here. Is the quelling blade. And you can't see that because my notes are in the way. Still in the way.